any queries, any doubts, you can always get in touch with Samarthya, and our contact details are there at the end. Even Bhavna or Riddhi will be able to share them with you, so that if you have any other queries, you can let me know. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box, and then we will make sure that we get back to you about those with after I finish my presentation today. Right. So moving ahead, before we go on to what is parent-child interaction, let's just briefly touch about what is communication. So communication is basically the exchange of information and ideas, and it involves both understanding of the information as well as expressing information. Now, right now, what we are doing is also communication, where I am actually expressing or telling information, and all of you are, accepting that information, understanding it, processing it. Then some of you will have some queries and doubts, which you will again put forth. So there is this exchange of information which is going to take place today. Um, Communication is necessary to express our needs, our wants, our feelings, and our preferences, and to express our preferences to others. Communication can be both verbal and non-verbal. Yes, verbal is important, it's very important, but that's not the only mode of communication. There are other modes also, and they are also equally important, right? It could include personalized movements, gestures, use of objects, vocalization, verbalization, signing, pictures, symbols, printed words, as well as somebody who's using technology to communicate, which even I am using right now, because I'm actually using technology to show you a screen which has these words written also. So I'm not just communicating verbally or talking, there's also visuals which are there in front of you. So it's not just ki बोलना, it is also बाकी चीजें भी, your body language, the way you stand, the way you sit, your expressions, all these are a part of communication. Moving ahead, now what is interaction? Interaction is something which occurs when two people do something together and respond to one another. So when you and your child do something together and you are responding to each other, is when it's called an interaction. This is important because that is what establishes a two-way communication where both of you are equally involved. If it's just one person going on and on and on, then it is not interaction. Yeah, that is not interaction. So that is what interaction needs response also. uh, when there is successful interaction happening, you will initiate your own conversations, as well as you will be responding to what your partner is saying or what your partner is doing. So when both these things happen together, then it is called as interaction. Speech Development of speech and language needs daily interaction every day. Like I tell every parent who comes for therapy, the child attends therapy for 1 hour or probably 45 minutes a day, and they are attending 2 or 3 sessions a week, which in total would take you down not more than 3 hours a week. But we are not interacting and communicating just 3 hours out of the whole week. Even for a day, when a child is awake, say for 12, 13 hours in a day, you are communicating all the time. You have opportunities to interact all the time. Just that 1 hour of work inside a closed room with a person will not help develop speech language the way we want it. It has to be through daily interactions, and that is why parents play such a key role in their child's communication growth, because you are always there with your child. You have abundant opportunities actually to interact with your child, to help them learn to communicate. And that's why I always say that parents are the primary language facilitators, not teachers but facilitators, because you are not going to tell them, show them, and then say, now you do it. You are going to help, you are going to guide them and support them and help them learn the process of how they should communicate. Once they've learned the process, then they will be able to communicate in different situations on their own, or independently, or with very little support. So parents are facilitators, you are not teachers. You don't teach communication to a child, you help build a system so that child learns how to communicate, and then in different situations can communicate on their own, right? So in order to communicate, what does a child need? So in order to communicate, effectively, and for a child to develop his communication, one, he or she needs different experiences within the environment they live in. And why is environment very important? So for somebody who's in India, or who's from a place where you can't go around teaching things like avocado and all, because these are not fruits that the child sees in his daily routine. Teaching them is just adding another word to a dictionary in their brain. Learning the word avocado is not going to help the child communicate, but learning things which are a part of your daily life, experiencing things which happen every day around you, is what is going to help the child learn to communicate and will also help the child identify situations where they can communicate with others, where they can interact with others. It's also important that the child hears speech of others, because children absorb. They are like sponges, they absorb. They may absorb at different rates. Somebody absorbs it quickly, somebody may take more time, but they all absorb. So the more they hear, the more they understand. And that's why it's so obvious. All of us do this. All of us have, even when we speak, we have an influence of our native language. Why is that? Because from when we've been born, we've been hearing that language going. So when we speak, like when I grew up in Bangalore, so my English has a touch of a Bangalore accent in it. Somebody who's from Maharashtra has a very, you can make out that there's a slight Marathi accent. Somebody who's from the northern Hindi belt has that influence on their English. Because they've heard it so much that it's become. And same thing happens when you go to another country. When you've stayed there a couple of years, you've heard people speak there, it again influences your speech. So children need to hear a lot of people speaking, so that they can learn to communicate, they can pick up speech and language from others. Children need to be given opportunities to repeat and to imitate and to copy the words and sentences they have heard, because only when they practice is when they will be able to produce these words on their own after some time. And most importantly, there has to be a need or a desire to communicate. We have to get that intent to communicate out, because if there's no intent, nobody, you can give me millions of rupees, but अगर मुझे बात नहीं करनी तो मुझे बात नहीं करनी. मेरे अंदर से बात करने का मन होगा, या मेरे अंदर से वो नीड होगी, only then I will communicate. So developing a need or a desire to communicate is very important. If these things are there, then it is easy for a child to learn to communicate with others. If I'm going too fast, please let me know, because I have a tendency to speak a little fast at times.
So, Miss Anjum,
Yeah?
I think your pace is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Just let me know how would you like to take it? Do you want to finish off your presentation, then take the questions, or we can keep on asking in between?
I'll finish the presentation, ma'am, and then we can take the questions. I can always come back to whoever wants what information,
Sure,
which
sure.
slide they want
So
to.
parents,
Yeah.
please, all of you, keep your questions ready. First, listen to the presentation very carefully. That's our request. Thank you.
Yes. So now these experiences that a child has and the opportunities that a child is given becomes even more important if there is a speech and language delay, because then you really need to create an environment where there are so many experiences and opportunities provided that the child learns how to communicate, right? Now, moving on to again going in detail about why parent child interaction is important. Why is it important that children and the parents at home, they have good interaction going, a good quality interaction going on? Because that is, in a way, the foundation. That is what helps me as a speech therapist also to do well with the child. Yes. To start with, as I said, children learn language best through natural communication in a natural setting, doing things. I can show a flashcard, or I can do the action and teach wash. But when a child is washing hands and you teach them that this is wash, they pick it up much more easily. So that's why in a natural setting, children learn language best. And of course, they it's your home. When you are at home is when you are in your most natural setting. So that's why then parents provide the richest language environment, because you understand your child the best. The context, the everything around, the surroundings, you understand it best. So you provide the richest language environment for your child, because you understand your child inside out. Good parent child interaction will result in building the child's confidence, and it will also strengthen your bond with the child. Yes. And it also, because when there's good interaction happening, you are more aware of your child's needs, about where he's lagging, where he or she, what are his strengths, or at times, where is it that suddenly there's something going, not working out, and then you can advocate for him well and talk to the therapists or his intervention team and get those things back in order. Now, next, when parents and children have good interactions at home, parents are involved at home, then children learn how to have more meaningful and responsive interactions, which then even outside the house and outside therapy rooms, it becomes much more easily. This Most parents have a very common query that, they do it in the therapy session, they do it with me alone at home, but when I take them outside or when they are in school or anywhere else, it's not happening. So in those cases, having more meaningful interactions at home, it just helps the child learn that they can do that outside also. And yes, as a therapist, it's very easy for me to work with a child whose parents are involved, and it become therapy is much more effective then. And it's very easy to generalize the skills. So inside a small therapy room, sitting with me in a small table and chair, the child has learned something. But we don't do those things in the therapy room. He has to use those words out in the world. And when parents are involved and they are also using those same targets, and they are targeting them, and they are interacting with their child, keeping mind being mindful of those targets, it's easy for the child to generalize it, that okay, I don't do it when using the flashcards, or only inside a session, or only with the toys that I see in the therapy room, but I have to speak outside also. I can use this word outside. So up and down, in and on and under is not just with the toys and the small toy house that we've practiced in the therapy session. It's not just in the worksheets and in the flashcards, but it's outside also. It is used to tell things. I can go into a grocery store and tell them, look up there on that shelf there, that's the chocolate I want, or that's the packet of chips I want. I can talk to a grocery store owner also that way. So that's what the children learn when they when they witness good interaction between parents and others, as well as when there's good interaction happening between the parent and the child. Right. But how do you go about establishing this interaction? The first thing you need to do is actually get to know your child. Yeah, you need to first understand your child. What does your child like, what he or she doesn't like. Your child may like something, they may dislike something. There may be things that they like or dislike which you just don't understand. I mean, why do they like to arrange things in a certain order? Forget the why, just know that your child likes those things. You can think of the why later, but then yeah, and accept it. Yes, that's what my child likes. Why is there this obsession with animals right now? It's okay, it's there, that's fine. But then if you know these things, you can really use them in your interaction. So right now I'm working with a wonderful mother who has a son who loves animals. And so she has, there are movies of animals, so she correlates it with Madagascar and with Lion King and things like that. Even in therapy, she gets him those anecdotes going in, so help him to connect with the targets more. And it's lovely to see that, that instead of saying, no, don't talk about animals right now, don't do this now, listen to what I'm saying, she tries to use that to get the child's attention and get him to do these tasks. It's a nice way of doing. There's less conflict, there's less frustration, and your child, the child is actually working with you. However, there are certain situations where you need to teach your child that they need to do certain things, and they have to be done a certain way, because there are academics and other things. So of course, you need, over there you can be firm. But then when it's free flow interaction, then you can, you can just accept your child's likes, dislikes, even if you don't understand, and go with the flow at that time. Next, you have to understand your child. You have to really look at your child's actions to see how he or she senses the world. What sense or what things could trigger an over response, and what can trigger an under response. So for example, some children, auditory wise, hearing wise, there are certain sounds which can make them really upset, and there's an over response to them. And then there are certain sounds which make them happy, but then the excitement level is so high that to get them back to a calm point where you can again work with them or interact with them is different. So know these triggers for your child. And you have to understand that if your child is in a situation where he is over responsive, and at that time, when you how you interact with him, you need to know that also. You have to modify the way you interact based on how his sensory um, state is at that time. You cannot just give directions at that time. I also do it at times. I'm a therapist and I still make this mistake. I say, you do it. And then I take a step back and realize, hold on, he's just not in that sensory state to listen to me right now. So I need to modify it. I need to probably give him a sensory break, or change the way I'm talking, change my tone. Instead of being so directive, I need to, just be supportive and just help him out. Or at times, just distract him. So you do those things so that I can get him back into a mode where he's interacting and communicating with me. You also, yeah, you also need to learn your child's learning style. Now, children learn in different ways. Some of them are they learn through memory. They memorize everything. They are rote learners. Some of them are called gestalt language learners. So gestalt language learners learn in chunks. So most of us, or the traditional way, or called the analytical way, where you first learn the sound, then you learn the word, and then you learn words, and then you learn to join words to form sentences. How we've learned in school: you learn to write the alphabets, then you join alphabets and you make small words, and then you make big words, and then you make a sentence. But in gestalt learning, it's the other way around. They learn in chunks. So for them, open the door, they learn it as a whole, and then with practice and over time, they learn that open the door is three different words. They have, and when you add these three together, they form the meaning that you need to open the door. Yeah, so that's the way gestalt language learners work. There are children who do wonderfully if there are visual cues given to them, if there is any visual support given to them. There are children who do wonderfully if you make them do something. They are hands on learners. And then there are those who are auditory learners, who through listening again and again and again pick up. So figure out where your child is and understand his learning style. If you know these things, then it's easy for you to interact. You know what kind of things to say, what kind of toys to use, what to do with him, so that you can engage him more and help him learn. Right. Now, coming to strategies. So, all this is about why you need parent child interaction and how it helps. But then, how do you get good parent child interaction? So, the first thing and the most important thing: respect your child's attempt to communicate. You need to respect them when they communicate and acknowledge their attempts to communicate. See, we are talking about children who are learning to communicate. So, they will not always do it the way we want them to do it, but if they are attempting, you need to acknowledge that, yes, I can see you are doing this. Can you do it this way also? Or, yes, sometimes just if they're really struggling and they're trying, accept it. Oh, is this what you're saying? I accept it and move ahead with it. Respect your child's attempt to communicate. So for example, we've taught the child is learned to you say yes and no, and then you come and you say, come on, let's play this game, and he says no, and you say, no, no, it's okay, come, let's play this game. No, he's just learning to assert himself to say yes or no, and he says no, and then you just completely, if you disregard the no and just move ahead, then what is the point of him saying no, him or her saying no? Right. So it's very important that you learn to respect your child's attempt to communicate. If there is a situation where you cannot accept that thing, then do not give them a choice of that kind. So do not give them a yes no choice in a place where he has to do it. If he has to sit and complete his work, then you can't say, will you do you want to do your work, yes or no? Because if he says no, then you're supposed to say, okay, then don't do it now, come back later. Or learn to say, fine, you don't want to do it now, we can give you 10 minutes, after 10 minutes come back and do it. But when once he's told something, you need to respect that also. The next thing is follow your child's lead. So at home, when you're trying to interact, especially with the younger children, rather than forcing the game that we want to play, it would be better that if a child is doing something, get into it. So if he's lining up cards, get there and keep the cards with you and give him one by one, so that you get into the child's game, but you're following the child's lead. Many times what we tend to do is, see, I've got a new toy. This is how you need to play. This is how you need to play. But their play skills may not be at that level, or their way of playing may not be at that. Their interest in that toy may not be that way. But if we try to force them, then ultimately what happens? They go move away, or they are doing something else. Rather, give it to them, see how they are interacting, go become a part of their game, and then gently over a period of time, you can teach them how to play it the right way. So if it is banging, if it is banging drums, and instead of banging the drums, a child is rolling the sticks, you also go ahead, oh, you're rolling sticks, mama will roll one stick, now you roll the other drumstick, start rolling the sticks. And then you can say, oh, now it's my turn, now it's your turn, roll. And then when he's like, he'll look at you like, oh, mama is doing what I am doing, then you can take and say, maybe we can do this, bang 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 also. Yeah, so if you do it this way, following the child's interest, then you will be able to build a form of non-verbal interaction with them, and then hopefully move on to verbal interactions also. Now the next strategy is very important. I've taken it from the Hanen program, which is a wonderful program. All of you can go to the Hanen website, Hannen Hanen website, and you can read up there. So the strategy is called OWL: observe, wait, and listen. Now, the idea behind this is that, um, see, children who are learning to communicate may take a slightly longer time to process the information, plan out what they want to respond, and then execute the response. So it's very important that when you say something or when you ask something, you pause, you wait, you give them time to do it. So observe, wait, listen means when you ask something, or when you tell them to do something, or when you ask them to say something, you've said it, now you wait. Look at your child. Maybe he may not be verbally saying it, but his body language may be telling you that he's trying, or you can make out from the face that they're really thinking. So rather than going, for example, if it is pick up the apple, rather than going pick up the apple, come on, you can do it, pick up the apple, pick up the apple. Yes, you can do it, pick up the apple. That's great. I mean, you are being very supportive, but what's happening? There's just complete bombardment of sound going into the ear. I would prefer you would go pick up the apple, and then you stay quiet. There should be some silence. See whether the child does it. Some of them may do it a little later. It can take a Some of them may take a few seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Sometimes it's even a minute that they can take. So wait, wait and listen to their responses. Look at their cues, listen to their cues, and then move ahead. That's why waiting and pausing and silence plays such an important role when you're interacting with your child. The other thing is taking turns. So, for communication or any interaction, if you and me are talking right now, all of you know that it's my turn to talk and your turn to listen. And then you have doubts, but you're waiting because it's your turn to listen. And then later, when it is your turn, you will all ask me your doubts. So we know that there is a turn. One person speaks, the other listens, and then we switch, and that's how it goes. So that's called turn taking. Many children who have a language delay, this is a challenge, turn taking in conversations. And to build that, playing games which involve turn taking. It could even be as simple as throwing a ball by taking turns, or, um, uh, driving something by taking turns, kicking a ball by taking turns, blowing bubbles by taking turns. You have to start there and then build up. So teach your child to take turns. Moving ahead, the next thing is attention hooks. So this is a term that I use when I tell parents that don't talk at your child, talk to your child. Yes. So there are times when we are talking, but the child is not paying attention. They are in their own world. They are either looking somewhere, thinking about something else. They are distracted by something else. They may be having some sensory stimming going on. At that moment, you are talking, but then there's no this thing because the child is not paying attention. So you need to get you need to create an attention hook and hook onto your child so that they pay attention to you. How do you go about doing that? It could be things like taking the child's hand and keeping it near your on your face like this. So when you do this, the child will automatically look at you because there's some tactile response also going on. You're touching the child feels your touch then, and then when he's looking at you, you talk to him. getting down to his eye level or her eye level when talking, teaching them that please look at me, I'm talking to you, listen to Anjum is something that I use a lot, please listen to Anjum, and then they look at me and they pay attention. There are some children who just tapping as a tapping on their shoulder or on the table to remind them to come back and pay attention to us is important. So it's very important that when you are interacting with your child, to know that he's paying attention to you. And that doesn't mean you take your child's face and do this. That's not getting their attention. You have to find a gentler way to do it. You could use music, you could sing it out at times. At times, like today there was a child who was trying to identify fruits, and after a couple of fruits she was getting distracted. So instead of asking, saying where is the apple, we went on to say where is apple, where is apple. We started singing, and she immediately, her attention switched back to me because there was music involved. So then she started paying attention to me. And another way would be, when you're calling them, sometimes they using a softer voice also works. It's not always shouting or increasing your volume. Sometimes if you go down to a whisper level, they'll look back at you. What happened just now? What did Anjum do just now is what they say. So just using a softer voice suddenly will get their attention. Or when you have to take their name, using a sing song voice. So for example, my son's name is Arslan, so sometimes I have to call him and I'll go Arslan, and he'll look back. Instead of just saying Arslan, Arslan, he will not. So using these kinds of things to just grab onto their attention for that moment, so that you can then speak to them and they will pay attention to you. The next thing is very important. You need to reduce the questions and increase the comments. So what happens when a child has a delay and they start therapy, and now they're saying, you want them to say words. So there's two things that happens. One, what is this? 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 And two, say this, say this, say this, say this. So most of the time it's this. So everyone takes books and you have pictures and you have nouns and you just ask, what is this? What is this? What is this? So there are so many questions and the child learns to answer. But we don't just, do question answer. Next time when you're sitting with somebody at home, your sister or your mother or your husband or your wife or your partner, sit down and just after you've had a conversation, just think how many questions were a part of that conversation, and were there also statements, there were jokes, there were there were other things also which were there. There were comments on things, you were sharing experiences, you were telling about something. It's not just questions. So you need to increase comments. So rather than asking, what color is this, you've taught colors, the child has learned colors, now he knows colors. But still, instead of asking what color is this, you say, I see Anjum is wearing a brown scarf today. Or if you see some girl jumping in the park, instead of saying what is the girl doing, he's learned jumping, he knows it's jumping. And even if he's not learned it, model it out, show it to them. So you will say, oh, look, that girl is jumping. You'll make a comment instead of asking a question. Reduce the testing and have more of comments. Yeah. So that the child learns to say those things also. The next, I think most of you already know, using visual helpers. So, any kind of extra sensory input that you can provide which will help the child organize information in the brain more easily and process is a great thing. So visual helpers are great at times for communication. You can use signs, you can use picture cards, you can use gestures, you can use anything visual which would help the child understand what the situation is, what he needs to say, or what you need to say. That would be great. And this goes for all age groups, not just younger children, even for older children. You have children who have difficulty socialization, you can just write, and if they are good at reading, you can write rules of a conversation, and we do that in therapy sessions. And we write it down, and we, as a reminder, we just tell them, now these are the rules, this is what you need to do in a in a conversation, and this is what you don't do in a situation. And those uh, those visual cues also help a child. The next thing is, when you're introducing something new or you're talking about something which is new for the child, you need to say less, stress, go slow, and show. What does this mean? This means that use precise and short sentences, or to the point sentences. Don't beat around the bush too much when you're talking to the child. It's a simple sentence. You say that, stress on what you really want to talk about. So for example, if we are talking about, for example, if we are doing a picture object description task, so we can say this is an auto, the auto is yellow. So you are stressing on the main points that you want to show. Go slow, that means don't rush through the whole thing, as well as speak a little slowly when you're teaching, introducing something new for the child, and show. So if the child is struggling, all you say is, look, mama will do it, and show it to you. You can always show. And this goes even for non-verbal things. So you may even to do something, rather than giving too many instructions, give the instructions, highlight the main parts of it, and then slowly do it and show it. And if they're still unable to do it again and show it to them. Show them how to do it. Next, the next thing parents can use are called language routines. These work wonderfully well, which is basically using the same set of words and sentences for that situation every day. Because what happens over a period of time, the child learns them and he starts using them in that situation. So, for example, what I do in the session is, for a bubbles bottle, it's always, oh wow, it's bubbles. What do we do? So, first the child will say open, then once they open, then we go turn, 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 and then I go dip, 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 and then I hold it, and they say blow, blow the bubble based on the child. If the child is older, there's turn the lid. If the child is young, it's just turn, and then there's blow the bubble, and then we blow a bubble pop, and then when it's done, I close the bottle again, and then I wait, and they say I want more bubbles. So that's a language routine for a younger child that you can do. You have for picture descriptions, for show and tells, you can have a set pattern that you follow, so that the child understands it and it's easy. You can always get variation later, but first have set language routines that will help elicit more words from the child, help the child communicate better, and then we can get variation in that. Excuse me. The next thing is modeling and imitation. So you are the best example for your child. If what you say, how you say, your child is taking it in. Like I said, it's like a sponge. The child is like a sponge, and they're absorbing all this information from you. So everything that you say, you do, they will copy it. So that's why I say, especially for children who are already at single word level, are speaking short sentences, and now you want to expand, I tell the mothers, be their example. You talk in the way you want your child to talk. So if you go around saying blue ball, the child will say blue ball. But if the child is already saying blue ball, you make a better sentence, and every time you use it properly, so that the child sees. If you want the child to ask you for something and he's not asking, and the child's father is next to you, so rather than saying the child, say give me apple, don't do that. You say, Papa, can you ask for the apple? And Papa can say, give me the apple. So the child will see how his dad asked, and then he will try to repeat it with you, and then you can give it to him. So modeling, which and imitation, plays a very important role in interactions at home. The next is expand on your child's words, adding more information. So if a child says blue ball, you will say, that's right, this is a blue ball. Or if a child says ball, you will say, that's right, blue ball, big ball. Always, I call it the plus one rule, which is you're adding one more word, or some one more aspect of information. So if they've spoken about the color, you can add the shape, you can add the size. Or if they've made a shorter phrase, you can add the filler, like uh, um, if they say boy running, you can add boy is running. So you are adding another connecting word in the middle. So you are expanding on the sentence, and again you are modeling it out. So the child hears it every time, and then over a period of time realizes that you can use it. The next is music. Music is a great way to connect with children. I think it's a great way to connect with people of all ages. So at times it's not just about working with your child. Play music, dance with your child, sing with your child, and use music during whenever you're practicing something or interacting something also. Because like I've shown during attention hooks, music is a nice way, rhymes are a nice way to help a child learn to to connect to children, and most of these children love music. So if you start singing, and I prefer you sing rather than playing music. So of course for dancing and other things you can play music, but otherwise sing. It doesn't matter how whether you can sing nicely or not. What matters is that there is a pattern and intonation, and you are singing for your child. If you do that, it would really do it, and it's a nice bonding experience. It's relaxing. Music can be really relaxing. There are some children who do wonderfully well if there's some calming instrumental music playing in the background. You can use that to make sure that the environment is set in such a way that the child is more receptive to what you are saying. So use music a lot in your when you are interacting with your child. Next, books. um, so, book reading is great. And I don't mean reading the words in a book. I mean, you and your child sitting next to each other and talking about books is also great. So, sit with them, with the younger children, especially to develop a habit, also sit with them. If they don't want to sit, then use sensory books with them. Get them to touch, get them to feel. Uh, Find books that are a part of their interest. So if somebody is interested in vehicles, get books about vehicles, so that you can at least start engaging with that younger child that is there. Reading books is great, but even with older children, you can, when you read a book, read, but also talk about what's happening on that page, because they to because just reading is not important. If they read, they need to understand that, and they need to able to take information from that also, or what we call reading comprehension is also equally important. So talking about the things which are there, if there's a picture in the book, talking about that. If it's just a write up with older children, you read it, then you talk about it, like, oh, I think that's what she was thinking and that's why she said this, things like that. Give your point of view about it. Take time to sit and read books with children. Read encyclopedias. If they're fascinated by something, find books, which encyclopedias and information books, general knowledge books, or then, and read them. Talk there, then you'll have more opportunities to interact with your child. Next, connect through games. Play with your child. Play a lot, and don't think that it's only these organized games which are those Instagram and Pinterest worthy games that you play. Play game could be anything. It could even be a pillow fight that you have. Play games with your child, of course the age appropriate games, or games which are developmentally appropriate for your child. You play those games with the child. Older children, play board games, play card games, go out and do a lot of outdoor games with them. Be a part of it, communicate through it. It may not seem like you're working on speech language, but this is how you do it in daily life. That is where you use your speech and language, what you're learning inside. So playing games both indoor and outdoor are a great way to interact with your child. Next, take out toys. So get toys to play with your child. Toys which have cause and effect, toys which are visual spatial, not the button pressing electronic toys, because they have just one thing. You press the button, the light comes, and it's done. But toys which are the other toys, you can play it in other way. Even a shape sorter, not just putting shapes, which is great for eye hand coordination and other things, but it's also like, oh, mama's made it a cap on her head, so you empty the shape sorter and put it on your head, and then suddenly it's a house. You are using it to teach you're using it to work on prepositions, so you're going up up up, down 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 with it. You can do so many things with toys. So play with toys, but then I always suggest, don't have too many toys out. Otherwise, the child will not spend time playing a toy. They'll just open one, play for a few minutes, and then go to the other, and in the end, all that's left is a very messy and cluttered room. So have toys. Talk to your therapists, whether it's your occupational therapist, your behavior therapist, your speech therapist. Find out, where your child is right now, and accordingly have a few toys with you. And you can always rotate them out every week or 2 weeks, and switch the toys over. So you don't have to buy new toys also. And there's a newness which is there that can be used with the younger children. And the next is help them make friends. So it's very important that they have interaction with children, other children their age. Now what happens many times in school and in other places, because it's a larger group, the child might get intimidated, or they may not mingle as much. So plan play dates, get more kids, involve siblings and the friends of siblings inside. See, you will have to take charge and figure out games that are if there's a child with who's neurotypical and your child who is neurodivergent or who has needs, other needs which are there, special needs which are there, you will have to figure out games that can work both. Because if you have children come over and then you are not providing them stimulation, other children will also get bored and move away. So find a common ground between the kids and help them make friends. Arts is a great way of doing that. If you have a play date where there is some artwork happening, some painting, some making cupcakes, or it could be making some clay se kuch karwa rahe ho, or cooking, something like that, like making a pizza or things like that. They are great ways to break the ice between kids and as well as help them make friends. Yeah. Right. So those were all the strategies. If you have any doubts about them, you can share them with Bhavna or put them in the chat, and then you can, I'll clear all your doubts after I finish my presentation. Now, moving on, benefits. So when you're doing all these things, what does it do? It helps improve the child's communication skills. You are providing more natural learning opportunities, and not to forget, the child has opportunities the whole day, not just in a therapy session where we have planned it out using just those 5 toys, because we have only 4 or 5 activities getting in. You, as parents, you feel more empowered because now you have some, it you are a part of your child's learning process. You are helping the child learn to communicate, so that makes you empowered and the stress reduces, and of course it builds a very strong parent child bond. Now, all this is great what I've said, but practically applying everything does not happen. It is difficult, it is challenging, because you have so many issues which are there. There are time constraints. I mean, your child's school is there, there are therapies, there are siblings, you have to take care of the siblings. Where is the time to do all that? So I always stress on quality over quantity. So instead of not worrying that you don't have 3 hours to spend with your child, even if you have 45 minutes or half an hour, use it wisely. Spend with good quality time, understand where they are, reach, get down to that level, and then interact there. So even that 45 minutes will give you good benefit, and that's what you need to do. Next, there's a lot of parental anxiety. I understand that also, because you want your child to talk, and this worry is there. Will they talk? When will they talk? Or if they're talking, why aren't they talking so well? Things like that. And because of that, there is a lot of parental anxiety. And um, it's obvious it is going to be there, but then when you're interacting with your child, you need to make sure that you have a control on this, because if there's too much anxiety, it will transfer on to the child also. We have children who have this worry, when they're not able to answer, they are worried. They also get worried, and we don't want the anxiety to come in, because if that comes in, then uh, it's very difficult for the child to work. You lose out on a lot of quality time that you could have spent, because the child is anxious. And the same if you are also anxious. So take a deep breath and just let it happen. It will happen, just give it time. Next, the child's behavior. So like I said, a child is not always ready to communicate. You need to understand their likes, dislikes, as well as their sensory needs. Based on their sensory needs, you will have to modify what you want to, how you are interacting, where you are interacting, and what you want to do. Or is it just time to give them space, give them their sensory input, and just let them be, help them regulate themselves, either through self regulation, or if you are helping them regulate. You need to get understand that and accordingly do. I always say, pick and choose your battles. If your child is so dysregulated, he's not listening to you, or emotionally he's in a place where he's not regulated, don't force him at that time to do things, because he will not do it. You might as well help settle that issue first, and then get back to what you were working on, or what how you are interacting. The next thing is, this is how it's supposed to be. There are parents, like, especially we face this challenge when we recommend that a child uses AAC. That no, a child, everyone talks, they are supposed to talk. Yes, they are supposed to talk, but that's not the only way, right? So forget this term that ऐसा ही होता है या ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. No, go according to what your child needs. uh, Always prioritize your child's need, how your child can do better. That should be the main thing. And the next thing is trying to fit in. So many times, it's do this so that you can do it over here. No, Do this because that's how you learn to communicate, should be your goal. Don't try to do things so that your child can fit into a situation. Do it so your child can be a better and independent communicator, a happy and a healthy child. If you do these things, the child will find his place and fit in. Yes. Trying to fit a square, a circle in a big circle in a small square will not work. You will have to make its own path. And that is why I always say, especially when it comes to communication, सब बोलते हैं तो तुम भी बोलो, इट डज नॉट वर्क. तुम बोलना शुरू करो, बात करो, दूसरों से इंटरैक्ट करना शुरू करो, बाकी चीज फिर आगे हम लोग धीरे धीरे उस पर काम करेंगे. सो दैट्स वाई forget I always say, forget about the society. Think about your child, your needs, and prioritize your child's needs and your needs first. Yeah. These are some of the references that I've used for this presentation. And yes, now we are open to questions.
Thank you, Miss Anjum. It was indeed an amazing session. And I know, not just as a professional, but as a parent also, a parent of a special need child, I got so benefited and I could really relate with the challenges as well as the strategies which you mentioned. So now we open the forum for parents. Everybody, if you have any question, you can raise your hands and we'll take your question one by one. And meanwhile, I would like to start with the first question, which is that there is one parent who has asked, if the child is not ready to speak in spite of all our efforts, then how to understand that what to do with him? So it's a question which is always there in parents' mind, if my child is ready or not. So do you think that there is something called child readiness for speech, or we should, irrespective of his readiness, we should continue to do our efforts?
So here's the thing. We start communicating from when we are born, through crying. You are communicating, you are expressing. That's how one baby does now. Oh, wet and nappy, you cry. You are hungry, you cry. You are wearing, the baby feels hot, it's crying. The baby feels cold, it's crying. So communication is happening from the beginning. Whether a child is ready for verbal speech or not depends on a lot of things. Those are called, one of the part of it is called pre-linguistic behavior. These are the foundation skills which are needed for a child to to start speaking, to have better speech and language. So these include having decent amount of eye contact, good joint attention, ability to follow certain commands, as well as imitation, ability to copy my actions, copy my oromotor movement. So if I'm going, can the child do it? If I go, can the child do it? So all these skills are also important. The ability to sit in one place and pay attention. So because if the child is not paying attention and focusing, they will not listen to you. If they're not listening, how will you respond? You don't respond to things that you're not listening to or focusing on. You can't give an appropriate response to it, right? If I'm not listening to your question right now, I can't give the right answer. I can say whatever I want, but that will not be meaningful, right? So these are the basic skills, pre-linguistic skills that need to be worked on. And other than that, I feel that one, keep putting your effort, and two, empower your child with another way to communicate. Yes, we are working on verbal, we are optimistic, we all want verbal speech out, but in the meantime, don't leave him just hanging in there. Give him an alternative, or give him an augmentative mode of communication, not alternative but an augmentative, which is a supportive mode. You can use specs, you can use sign language, you can use gestures, you can use an app like Avaz, which is there. Anything like this which helps him communicate, because they may not be able to say things, but they are actually still they are thinking, they have a lot to express. Just because it's not coming out of their mouth, that doesn't mean that they don't have things to express. So provide them that, so that it reduces the frustration levels also.
Thank you. Thanks for the answer. That actually helps us. I could see Miss Saleni had raised hand. May I invite her for her question?
Sure,
हेलो
sure.
मैम. हेलो.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear
हेलो
you.
मैम. हाँ
Yes.
मैम, मुझे ये पूछना था मैम कि मेरे बेटे का जैसे लैंग्वेज है, मतलब स्पीच है, लैंग्वेज नहीं है उसकी, तो क्या उसको टंग की एक्सरसाइज कराना जरूरी है मैम?
स्पीच है, लैंग्वेज नहीं है, मतलब आप एग्जाम्पल दे सकती हैं?
मतलब वो बोलता है नीड बेसिस स्पीच, मतलब नॉन वर्बल नहीं है मैम, वो बोलता है ये चाहिए वो चाहिए,
हम्म।
मुझे यहाँ जाना है वहाँ, जो उसकी नीड बेसिस है वो बोलता है, बात करता है। तो मुझे यहाँ किसी स्पीच थेरेपिस्ट ने बोला कि नहीं उसको टंग की एक्सरसाइज भी करवाना है, तो जस्ट मुझे आपसे कंफर्म करना है कि क्या वो जरूरी होता है मैम,
See,
स्पीच है तो भी?
ये केस टू केस उस पर डिपेंड करता है। दो चीज है,
अच्छा।
एक ऑफ कोर्स लैंग्वेज पे तो काम करना ही है कि उसको बड़े सेंटेंस दिमाग में बनाने आने चाहिए, तभी वो उनको बोलेगा। दूसरा, बोलते समय हमारी जॉ का कितना मूवमेंट हो रहा है, कितनी स्टेबिलिटी चाहिए। तो उतने लंबे सेंटेंस बोलने के लिए भी हमारा वो सब चाहिए होता है। तो
ओके।
आपको जो है ना वो दोनों चीज जज करनी होगी कि अगर सच में जरूरत है तभी आप टंग की एक्सरसाइज कराइए, लेकिन सिर्फ एक्सरसाइज कराना नहीं होता। उस एक्सरसाइज उसको आपको एक्सरसाइज करा के उसे आपके साथ उसके साथ आपको स्पीच एक्टिविटी भी करानी है, वरना टंग के मसल को यूं यूं हिला के कुछ फायदा नहीं होगा।
ओके। ओके मैम। ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
या
May I ask Miss Nanda to ask her question?
Hello, ma'am. This is a wonderful session. My question is how if you can share the main strategies which I can apply for my son. My son is eight plus, and he has language. Can able to reply. I want to make him upgrade to two-way communication.
okay. So here's the thing. If he's already talking, then things like turn taking, expansion, the strategy which I spoke about, which was expansion, where, you add more sentences. Modeling and imitation works at all age levels. So you can use modeling and imitation, you can use expansion, you can use book reading. Book reading is a wonderful way to increase your this thing. Use social stories to help him understand what is two-way communication, एक दूसरे से बात करने का मतलब क्या होता है. यूज टू सोशल यूज सोशल स्टोरीज फॉर दैट. Then you can also observe, wait and listen, because sometimes he may be talking but he may need more time to process and make a longer sentence. So doing that would really help with him. Visual cues would really help with him, because sometimes they want to make a longer sentence but it takes some time. So sometimes having visual cues where they can visually make the sentence using picture cards or an app and then say tell it out would make it easier for them. So using these kinds of strategies, it will help to make them to. And of course, work with your speech therapist to work on all the social and pragmatic skill strategies which are there. They will really help. So that would also help you.
Ma'am, what is pragmatic skill here?
So pragmatics is basically use of language. तो हमने भाषा सीख ली है बट उसको यूज करना भी तो आना चाहिए ना. Right? Like for example, I studied Sanskrit till 10th standard. I scored above 90 also in Sanskrit. So I've learned the language of Sanskrit. I can tell shlok. I have learned so much. I can tell shlok. I can tell the declension. But can I use it to communicate with others? If I have to talk to somebody who speaks in Sanskrit, I can't. I can't even tell them कि मुझे भूख लगी है. So using a language to communicate is called pragmatics. Applying language in different situations is called pragmatics.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Understood.
Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, we have a question here from Mr. Vikas. He's saying, my son is 6-year-old, Gestalt language processor. He is at 2-word repetition, echolalia. He's still interested in listening rhymes. How can we move ahead and make him listen to stories?
So here is the thing. He likes rhymes. That's great. So you move on to storybooks, which have a sing-song in a repetitive pattern. For example, books like Brown Bear, Brown Bear. What do you see? So every page is Brown Bear, Brown Bear. What do you see? I see this. So get his attention to books first and then move to stories. So you have stories, like stories like Dear Zoo and Brown Bear, what do you see? Which have these repetitive pattern and rhyming words at the end, which are very similar to the rhymes. So you can use that to get his attention to books, and use books when you're doing that. And then once his attention is there, then you can expand. If you're directly going to go to stories with him with a book, he will not pay attention. Another way of getting it is first use actual objects and it's called tabletop stories. So on a table, if you're doing lion and the mouse, you have a lion ka puppet or a lion on your hand, and you have a mouse ka puppet or a mouse in your hand, and then you do it with the, you enact the story out, get his attention into the story that way, and then slowly move him to books that way. Yeah, enacting
That
stories
was,
is a great way to get their attention there.
I think that's a very valid strategy. We all should adapt that. Ma'am, another question is from Nausheen Shehzad. The question is, बच्चों को question के answer देना कैसे सिखाएं?
तो अगर आप WH क्वेश्चंस की बात कर रहे हैं, तो मॉडलिंग इज द बेस्ट वे. तो अगर आप जैसे हु क्वेश्चंस, WHO, हु, कौन वाले क्वेश्चंस की बात कर रहे हैं, तो पहली चीज तो पहले दिन से टेस्टिंग मत शुरू करिए. कि अगर आप उसके साथ कर रहे हैं कि ये कौन है, ये कौन है, ये कौन है, उसको कौन का जवाब देना नहीं आता है, तो वो वहीं पर अटका हुआ है. तो आप कैसे करेंगे? आप सवाल पूछ के जवाब भी आप ही देंगे, तो उसको पता तो चलेगा कि अच्छा जवाब ऐसे देना है, और फिर धीरे धीरे करके उसको आपको वो सिखाना होगा. तो वो एक हायरार्की होती है कि पहले क्या और व्हाट, देन यू डू वेयर या कहाँ, देन यू डू कौन या हु, एंड देन यू मूव ऑन टू व्हाई एंड हाउ. सो दिस इज द हायरार्की. आप सारे सवाल एक साथ नहीं कर सकते, एक एक करके करिए, और जब बच्चा एक समझ जाए तो उसे सवाल पूछना भी सिखाइए. The child should also know how to ask the question.
तो मैम आपने कहा what, where, how, who. That's the hierarchy.
First there's what, then there's where, then there's who, and then uske baad there's why. There you can add, then there's when, then there's why and how. And why and how से पहले inferencing skills भी अच्छे से आनी चाहिए, because तब तक आप why का जवाब वैसे नहीं दे पाएंगे. You have a lot of children, you ask the why question, they say because, and then they stop, because उनको ये रट गया कि why पूछा है तो मुझे because बोलना है. But जो है ना, लॉजिकली बिकॉज के बाद क्या बोलना है उसको समझने के लिए हैविंग गुड इन्फरेंसिंग स्किल्स इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट.
I think, ma'am, this question is very much related to our next question by Shriyan Balaji. My son is 9 years. He can read but is unable to comprehend. And ma'am, that's a challenge which we professionals also have seen. Children 12 years old, 15-year-old, reading the story very nicely. Proper pronunciation, correct spelling, understanding. But the moment you ask them why, what, the comprehension of the story is very bad. What do you suggest in this scenario?
So in this scenario, especially for a child this age, again go back to inferencing skills. You have to teach the child to think from another person's point of view, because दूसरा इंसान क्या सोच रहा है, once you understand that is when you will be able to answer from their point of view, especially if it's story reading. So there's something called as theory of mind, which is basically understanding कि दूसरे का perspective क्या है. If you read a sentence that she was heartbroken, it doesn't mean कि दिल टूटा हुआ था literally, it means she was sad. इसका मतलब कुछ ऐसा हुआ है जिसकी वजह से उसको जो है बहुत दुख हो रहा है, और she is really sad. So they need to understand that perspective, because only then they will be able to answer. Many of them, they are literal, they only understand literal words, so the gist of the whole thing, understanding gets very difficult. So go back to understanding answering these questions, and you'll have to work with a therapist who specializes with reading and writing, a speech language therapist who specializes with reading and writing related goals also, as well as work on perspective taking, and how to break down what you read and pick out information from it, understanding who are the main characters, what is the plot, what is the what is the setting of that story. Understanding all these things have to be developed. That is when a child will understand those things. Yeah,
we have few more questions in our chat box, but I would like parents to interact directly with you in case any parent has any question apart from what is there in the chat box, which we will surely pick up. किसी पेरेंट को अगर डायरेक्टली मैम से कुछ, मैं चाहूंगी कि हम कुछ डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस और कुछ इनबॉक्स क्वेश्चंस ऐसे लें तो अच्छा इंटरेक्शन बनेगा.
I think there's one.
I think one parent has, I'm unable to see who has.
Lavanya ma'am.
Lavanya, yes, Miss Lavanya, आप पूछ सकते हैं सवाल.
Yes, hello ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am, you are telling the better way to interact is the natural environment, and it is the better way to, to teach words also. Not to teach, I mean, to make the
Help the
child
child
learn
learn
words.
words.
Yes. But whenever I am interacting in the natural environment, what do I feel is he's not at all listening to him. He's
Okay.
in his own way, and
How old is your son?
he is 6 years, 7 years, ma'am.
Okay.
But whenever
So,
I am telling something, I feel that, oh, he is not listening. Actually, he is visually capturing the situation. He is a
hmm,
visual learner.
hmm,
Always he is interested in what he is seeing.
hmm, hmm,
But I used to feel that,
hmm, hmm,
okay, whenever I take him to some corner and arrange some table time and show him
hmm,
some flashcards, then only he is giving more attention. Suppose if I am telling something in the natural environment, I usually think like that. No, he is not paying attention to my words. He's only seeing, and his perceiving is like that. I used to feel.
hmm, hmm.
I don't know whether is it correct or not,
Okay,
because
so here's the thing. No, what you have a genuine concern. This is a genuine concern. So, like I said, one child to child, every child is different. Just because I've stated, it's not a blanket statement for every child which is there, right? The second thing is he's already doing it in a corner in a table chair. That means the targets have kind of been established over there. Now we need to move it in a natural setting. But one thing what all of us don't realize is that the house is the most comfortable and safe place for a child. Since he or she was born over there, they've been living there, they've been living in a particular way. Their communication needs are being met in a particular way, right? It's been
okay,
going on that way only. Now suddenly when we change the way we interact with them and we expect them to interact immediately, it doesn't happen. It takes time for them to understand. And the other thing I said, and he's a visual learner, so use visual cues with him. Keep get make sure he's looking at you, make sure he's understanding. You can always use visual cues in your natural setting also with him to help him understand things, and talk to him how much ever is possible. I'm not saying it will be completely just stick only to natural. Find that sweet balance between tabletop, working alone, as well as your natural, because both are important.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am. Actually, I think around 1 year back, I was doing this only. We used to teach
Hmm.
everything in the table time only, but the
Hmm.
therapist asked me to stop that.
Hmm.
Don't teach everything in the table time because they will lose interest to listen things spontaneously and learn
Yes.
things
Yes.
spontaneous. So I stopped.
Yeah.
I stopped that way of teaching. I mean, some
Yeah.
academic part I will do in the table time, but teaching words and all prepositions and all I stopped doing at the table time.
Yeah, but now then you have to use toys which are of his interest and are appropriate to the situation. Find books, make sure he's regulated at the time you are interacting with him. And,
Yeah, ma'am. But you are
let,
telling how to use visual cues in a playtime, because suppose if I want to teach up, I will roll ball in an upward direction or downward direction. Already I
Hmm,
am showing in the visually. Then how
hmm.
can I use visual clue there? I mean,
So you are using
suppose if
one visual cue. The other thing is you can use signs to say up, 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 so that the child also starts
gestures.
doing it, using his whole body. You go up, up, up. You can use signs. You can have small cards with you, which you have, which even in a natural setting, you can show the card to him for up, which indicates up if it's a child. If you want to use it, you can do those things also. You're actually using the strategies. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
that,
but
it takes
actually, what
time.
I have observed is, na, whenever I am opening my mouth, he will feel like, okay, she is going to teach something.
Huh. So for 5 years, he's been in one particular
He's
way.
losing
Probably for
interest.
2, 3
Whenever
years.
I am trying to say something, he's losing interest. He will
Hmm.
immediately move away from that place. Oh my God, she is telling something and she will push me to repeat the same.
Yeah. So avoid directing him to say, see what I'm doing, and just go for commenting like, oh wow, I'm going to roll the ball up. You are not saying, look, what's your son's name, if you don't mind?
Rudvin, Rudvin,
So
Rudvin,
Rudvin.
Rudvin.
Rudvin, come, see, ball is up, see, ball. Don't say, oh, wow, the ball goes up, up, up. So rather than directing his attention, you just comment. That's why I said commenting is so important, more than asking questions and giving directions. Yeah,
Right.
use those kind of strategies, and talk to your therapist, speech therapist, to find out how you can do it in a more natural environment. There's also a very good YouTube channel. It's called it by a speech language pathologist called Laura Mise. She's wonderful. She has podcasts which are a little long, but they are good. So I
What's
will
the
share. I'll share the link, and I'll
Okay,
ask.
okay.
You know,
Sure, ma'am.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I will ask
Ye- Yes,
Bhavna to
ma'am.
just put
You
it in
can
the
you can
chat.
share the link. I will forward it to all the parents. And thank
One
you,
more thing, ma'am.
Lavanya.
Attention hooks. You told about the parent strategy. Attention.
Miss Lavanya, may I request you, in the interest of everybody's time, there are many hands which are already raised. You can
Sure,
put your
sure.
question in the chat box. I assure you, we will answer. If not in this session, we will surely get back to you and
Okay, okay.
answer your
Thank you so
questions.
much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I request now Miss Anjana to ask her question?
Thank you, ma'am. So first of all, I really want to thank you and I to the ma'am, and I would say that whatever strategy you have said, believe me, it's the most updated and very, very, very nice. Otherwise, I have seen the therapists who are still on the conventional way. As you said, our child has been trained to say just yes or no, but there is always a middle way also. Not now, maybe later.
Yes.
So that is wonderful. And ma'am, where I feel stuck is basically he likes the book. He asked me what is that and all those questions. In fact, his level of question with the same book which he was reading 3 years back also has gone higher. So his
Mm-hmm.
understanding has gone higher. As a gestalt processor, now he's using those in his natural, daily day-to-day life also, as you mentioned. So now I want to increase his level in terms of, reading the books, in terms of comprehension. I want to go a level higher, but I see a resistance. So how I can help him to go on to the more complex books, or even in
Um,
the games, same thing. Like Ludo is still favorite, Snake and Ladder, but as and when we go a little higher, there is a resistance even after a year and so.
okay.
So how I
So
can?
one, the resistance could be because this is comfortable. This is the
Yeah.
one where he has control. When it's something new, he's
Mm-hmm.
not in control, he doesn't know what's happening. So you have to gently introduce the games, and not just, you can't just remove Ludo and Snake Ladder from it. So try another game and you say, okay, let's play this, and then we will do this also. Find a
Okay.
time when he's receptive to it and play it then. Coming
Okay.
to books, so I recently found a very wonderful way. It's actually how there are some worksheets which are meant for kindergarten students and your K1 K2 level kids, uh, for foreign curriculum, and they do it wonderfully. So a child has read a story, and then they've said, now the story was about a brown cat which who got there was a brown cat, it got wet in the rain, and it was shivering, and then it went and hid under it went and hid under a car. So that was the gist of that thing, that 4 lines they gave. And then they said, now draw the cat. So
Okay.
draw what do you think the cat looked like in the story, draw the cat. So you do things like that. So before moving on to complex books, tell the child, come on, draw, use arts as a medium, tell them to draw the character, or to talk about what do you think this person looked like. So for example, if you've done the book um, Hungry Caterpillar. My son's right now, it's his favorite, the book Hungry Caterpillar, so he's doing it. So I ask, oh, the caterpillar ate something on Sunday. Now, how is the caterpillar? Now, the caterpillar is really hungry. So, what do you think he will do next? How will he find the two pairs? So, then my son, they'll think that, oh, he needs to search for those pairs. He'll go around looking at some other tree for the pairs.
So
So, talk
here,
about those things also in the book.
I
And,
want to mention, like he literally role play on his own on this.
Yeah. So he's doing this. So now, when you go to a higher book, also get him to understand what the character is, what is the
Okay.
setting of the story.
Okay.
Understand
Okay.
these things, because when you understand these things, is when you will be able to understand the whole story as a gist. And
Not
for him,
jumping
if
right.
there's
Yeah.
resistance, this makes it easier, because he's not reading a book, he's reading
Yeah.
something so that he can draw and color after that. you know,
Okay.
things like that. So that will help. Or if he's read a story, now you say, can you draw it for me? Or can you, since he likes role play, mama will tell a story today, can you enact it for me? So
Okay.
after you read the story, let him enact it out, give him puppets, or he can just do it himself however he wants to do. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
don't make
Thank you.
story reading just reading on,
Ha, 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 ha.
reading from a book. Make story
Oh,
reading interactive and activity based.
activity based. ठीक है. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll request Prasanna and Nausheen to hold on for a minute because I have many questions in the chat box. The first question is from Lakshya. He's saying, ma'am, my child has misarticulation, so clarity missing. Tell how to spell alphabets, tongue position.
So
To spell,
again,
how to spell alphabets. Misarticulation, so clarity is missing.
yeah. So if clarity is missing because of misarticulation, there are strategies which you can work with your therapist on how to achieve each sound, the clarity of each sound. So they will use some oromotor exercises, but not only oromotor exercises. If you're just doing tongue up and down, it will not help you get a t. So you do your up and down, and then you practice the t sound also. Because the reason we do up and down, one, to strengthen the muscle, and two, to build a motor plan in the brain. कि अच्छा जीप को ऊपर करने के लिए, टंग को ऊपर करने के लिए, this is the movement I need to make. Then immediately tell him, now try making the t sound. Again, there's a hierarchy of sounds. Which sound needs to be worked on first, which needs to be worked on second, and which needs to be worked on next. And that only a therapist can tell you. So talk to your therapist, tell them that I want to work on sounds, which sound needs to be worked on, how do I work on it, what are the strategies, what are we call them speech drills. So you take a sound, and then if it's the t sound and it's the start, if it's t at the beginning, first you only practice t, t. Then you go your barakadi syllable level. So ta t to ta ta t t to tu. You do those things, and then you go to words. Words, maybe not just all words. First, there are words where the t sound is in the beginning. Then you like table. Then you do words where t sound is in the end, like boat, mat. And then you do words where t sound is in the middle, like better, hotel. And then move on to sentences. But then for that you need to meet an experienced speech therapist who can assess your child, figure out where he is and what exactly is needed. Is it muscle based issue, is it a placement based? If there are other challenges also, then is it really based because of the oral, or is it something to do with attention, focus, or auditory discrimination of sounds? So all these
I
things have
totally
to be
agree
worked
with
on.
you. I totally agree with you that first of all, the assessment is very important.
Yes.
Under assessment from an expert so that you know where your child is. Thanks for that answer. Padmaji, your answer seems to be more related to OT. I'm parking it somewhere, and we will surely get back to you. Nandaji, your answer is already, we have given two-way conversation. Padma is asking, please explain home interaction again, including his sibling or his dad. Home interaction.
So you can use all these things if you're like, for example, play a game, if it's a younger sibling or an elder sibling, if they are willing. So for example, I had a parent who once had shared a very interesting story. So both, they like fighting with the dad, and hitting the pillow cushion fights is something that the child liked, and he had a younger sibling also who would enjoy it. So then what they did was they started playing with pillows at home with the dad. And then all of them would say, and papa would say, it's my turn now, I am going to do hit with the pillow. And then it would be the brother's turn, so bhaiya will do with the younger brother's turn, so bhaiya will do it. Then it is child's turn, so your turn, you do it. And there was words like stop, 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 don't do this. And then papa would act as if he's really hurt and he's like fallen down. And then mother would tell both the brothers to encourage them to wake up, papa utho, wake him up. So that then seeing the younger one do it really well, this one also was trying to do it. So things like that. So I always suggest, find a game that your child needs or likes, then find a common ground in that game for the sibling also. And then as parents, be a part of the game to, be like a moderator, so you are there with them, ki it doesn't get out of control, or one of them is not left out because of the others, and play as simple things like this. Or things like you've got something, you've got a shoe rack or something which has to be assembled, so three of you are sitting and doing it. So one can have all the parts, and the other papa can say, can you ask your brother to give me a long pipe? Can you ask the brother to give me the screwdriver? Can you ask? And you involve the child like that. Same thing you can do with Legos. So if you're playing with building blocks, so you have a picture of what you need to build as a family. Take a picture on your phone or take out the manual. Manual has pictures of different things you can build with the blocks. One person is the supplier, the other is the builder, and the other one is going to be the engineer, is what we say in that. It's basic Lego therapy. So the engineer will look at the plan and decide, oh, first I need a yellow block. So he will tell the supplier, give me the yellow block. The supplier will give the yellow block, and then the engineer will tell the builder, now put the yellow block down. Now put two red blocks. He will take two red blocks from the supplier, give it to the builder, and say, put them on top of each other. So keep changing roles and play games like this, where all of you have roles and you can play like that.
Oh,
Or
that's a wonderful strategy. I think, this is going to be
yeah.
really good in language.
Yes. Or if all four of you are there, that's the sibling, the child, and both parents. One parent become a partner of the child, so that you can help the child communicate better. So there are not four members playing, it's basically three. And the mother or father, one of them becomes the child's facilitator. So where the child is getting stuck, you help out the child. You can quietly whisper in their ear, you need to say this. Like with one child, we've been playing Uno a lot to, because he's a little older, help him understand rules. So he and I form one team, and then mom is another player and dad is another, and we are helping him understand the rules of the game that way. So home interactions can be done that way. When you're cooking, when you're making things, involve both, give them both instructions appropriate for their age, and get them, involve them in household work, cleaning and everything, and give them instructions. All these are home interactions.
Since we are not left with much time, I would like Prasanna and Noshin to ask their question. And whatever rest of the questions are there, I'm making a note of it. We will get back to parents. And in fact, those who could not even ask questions, they feel free to write back to us. We will share our email ID in the end of the session, and we will do our best to help you. So may I request Prasanna and Noshin to ask their questions one by one, and after that, we would like to close the session.
Hi, ma'am. So can I ask question, ma'am?
Who's that? I'm sorry, I'm not able.
Prasanna.
Prasanna.
Yes.
Please, go ahead.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you so much. All the strategies are really helpful. So I could see I can clearly use them as it is. So, ma'am, with my daughter, I see a different kind of articulation problem. So, some way she picked up saying like, if she need to tell like red, she says red. She dragged the word. Then it is like if she want to tell car, she says car. So if I say Arya, please can you say it proper? So then she correct. She know exactly what to say, but she is comfortable saying that way. Browna, pinky. So if we try to teach Telugu also. If I say Arya, say Vaddu to don't want. She try to say like Vadda. She used other word. She used you at the place of a at the place of you. And she clearly know what to tell also. If I ask her to please say it properly, other people are not understanding what you're saying, then she correct it. And also she's talking in a low tone, maybe because she's not having enough confidence to talk. When she say a new word or very less familiar words, she speak a very low voice. If we record it with mic in the WhatsApp or so, it is very clear. The words, what she's saying, it is very clear, but with a very low voice, she's saying it. And other thing is, when we start talking with her, right? So she immediately tilt her head and start looking corner.
Sorry, can you
the
repeat
way
this
that
last
she
part
does.
again? Till now, you've spoken of two things, right? One is that articulation, where she's adding some sounds in the end or things like
Mm,
that. The second thing is
mm.
she has a very
So
soft voice at times. And now the third thing, what did you say?
third part is whenever I start talking to her, she try to listen carefully. So at that time, she tilt her head to side, and she start looking corner of the room. So she'll not look at the person who talks. And I see she is having some difficulty to look and listen at the same time. So she immediately tilt her head either to listen carefully or other maybe some other problem. I don't understand whether I have to pressure her to look at me and listen, or maybe it is her coping up mechanism. Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
Okay. So three things. So the first thing is she may have started saying those things because she had probably some instability or some oromotor weakness or some planning related concern, and now that has become a habit. So the way you correct us is you do a lot of speech drills with her, sit with her, and practice these words where she's telling them correctly. And in conversations you're already doing, you have to give her reminders. Have gentle reminders, and especially if you're in public in front of others, then have something like a silent reminder. Don't pinpoint it, point it in front of others. That's something I don't encourage. I tell parents, please don't point out too much in the public, because then children get very conscious if there are other relatives around and all. So having a quiet reminder, like a gentle pat on her head, or you doing something like this on your cheek, getting her attention, will remind her that she needs to speak properly. That is a good way of doing it. The second thing, one, it could be a confidence issue, that is having a soft voice. So she needs to practice more and feel more comfortable doing it. The other thing you can do is on Android as well as iOS, there are free apps for volume. So it's basically, when you talk loudly, the picture or the cartoon becomes bigger, and then when you talk softly, it goes down. So you can use that and make her talk so that she has a visual cue that that you're talking too softly, you need to be louder. Or you can have visual cues where it is like the right voice, it's too soft or it's too loud. Yeah, you'll have to do it that way. And if you do it that way is when she will be able to she will learn that she needs to change, increase her volume in certain situations. Now coming to your third point, first thing is that make sure you roll out any core strength related issues or any alignment issues with an OT. And other than that, it could be a coping mechanism. So you can gently remind her that please look straight. And at home, you can say, have a social story where it's all about how to be a good listener. And that involves that, your whole body is listening. So your shoulders are turned towards the person you're talking to. You're looking at the person you're talking to, and you're listening to them, and you're thinking about what they are talking and not thinking about something else. So using a social story like this would help her realize it without you putting pressure on her that don't do that, don't do that. You do that, and sometimes it will just disrupt her chain of conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Really helpful.
So our last question from Nasheen.
हेलो मैम।
Hello.
हमने क्वेश्चन किया था कि बच्चों को क्वेश्चन का आंसर देना कैसे सिखाएं, तो उसमें हमारा छोटा सा एक कंसर्न था कि फीलिंग वाला क्वेश्चन, जैसे मतलब कुछ पेन हो रहा है या क्राई कर रहा है तो वो बता नहीं पाता है कि क्या हो रहा है। हारून, बेटे का नाम हारून है,
जी
10 ईयर बॉय है वो। और उसको मतलब अंडरस्टैंडिंग है उसकी काफी, और नीड बेस लैंग्वेज बोलता है। उसको जो चाहिए, कहीं जाना है, उसको कुछ जो भी चाहिए वो बताता है, लेकिन कहीं गए तो कैसे लगा या कुछ पेन हो रहा है क्या, तो वो रोता रहेगा लेकिन वो नहीं बता पाएगा। तो इस तरह का कम्युनिकेशन कैसे सिखाए?
मैम, तो इन सिचुएशंस में आपको सबसे पहले तो उसको एक एएसी मोड देना है, क्योंकि अगर बच्चा 10 साल का है और अभी भी सिर्फ बेसिक नीड बेस्ड कम्युनिकेशन पे काम कर रहा है, इसका मतलब वर्बली अभी वो उस लेवल पे नहीं है कि बहुत ज्यादा चीजें हमें बता पाए। तो उसके लिए सबसे सही चीज ये होगी कि पहले आप उसको पिक्चर्स के थ्रू, उसके थ्रू सिखाइए कि ऐसे करना है, ऐसे बोलना है, वो करिए। और आप खुद भी बताइए, आहा आज हम पार्क गए, कितना अच्छा लगा, मम्मा बहुत खुश है, तुम कैसे हो, पिक्चर्स दिखा के। फैमिली मेंबर्स की फोटोज खींचिए अलग अलग एक्सप्रेशन के साथ, ताकि वो समझे कि ये हैप्पी है, ये सैड है, ये वो है, और फिर उनसे करिए। कभी कभी बच्चा मुंह से नहीं बोल पाएगा, लेकिन कब कब जो है ना, वो कम से कम, just give me 1 second, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, my son came in the middle. तो इसलिए राइट, तो जो मैं कह रही थी कि आपको उसे एक एक और मोड कम्युनिकेशन का देना पड़ेगा, जिस पिक्चर्स के साथ या उसके साथ, जिससे वो शायद ज्यादा आसानी से कोरिलेट करके आपको जवाब दे पाए।
जी, थैंक
जी,
यू मैम,
thank
थैंक
you.
यू।
So that's that. Here we comes to the end of the session. मैं ज्यादा ये नहीं कहूंगी, लेकिन मैं सिर्फ इतना कह सकती हूँ कि एज अ मदर ऑफ अ 14-year-old आई हैव अटेंडेड many सेशंस, लेकिन इतना कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव, इतना क्लियर, इतना डिटेल्ड और इतना जिसे कहते हैं ना कि जानकारी से भरा हुआ सेशंस मैंने बहुत कम देखे हैं। थैंक यू अंजुम जी फॉर दिस अमेजिंग सेशन। मैं हमारे जो पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं उन सबको बताना चाहती हूँ कि अंजुम, we are lucky, Samarthya team is lucky to have Anjum with us on regular basis. Anjum Samarthya team के पुणे ऑफिस में Mondays to Friday बैठती हैं। आप में से कभी भी कोई उनसे कंसल्टेशन करना चाहता है तो विद प्रायर अपॉइंटमेंट यू कैन फिक्स अप एन अपॉइंटमेंट विद हर, यू कैन कम कंसल्ट in Pune, and even if you cannot come personally, you want to write or you take guidance, you all are free. On your screen you can see our address, you can see our number, you can see the email ID. Kindly note it, take a picture of it, and feel free to reach out to us for any kind of help, query, or an appointment. I would like to call, in case my program director Riddhi is here, I would like to call her for the last words. And after that, I will request Anjum ma'am to say the last words for this session. Riddhi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I
Yeah.
hope everyone can hear. Thank you so much, Anjum ma'am, for such a beautiful session. बहुत informative session था. There are a lot of questions, parents, जो in the interest of time हम ले नहीं पाए थे. So please feel free to write the questions. We are definitely in the group. You all are all a part of a WhatsApp group. वहाँ पे डाल देना. We will make sure that we are addressing all of the questions, and we have recorded this session. So you will see it on YouTube. We will share the link of it as well. Again, thank you so much for being an amazing audience and being a part of our Samarthya family all the time. Thanks, Bhavna, for facilitating this session and being a great support for the session today. Thanks, Anjum ma'am. With this, we will end the session.
Thank you, Riddhi. Anjum ji, just the last one line, one advice which you want to give to parents.
My one advice: one, respect your child's communication, whatever he is, pay attention and respect that, and then communicate, interact, and have fun. If you're doing those things, the rest will, slowly fall in place. Everyone's there to help you out. You have therapists, you have other people, there's a support system available. We at Samarthya are also available for you. But most importantly, respect your child's communication, what he does, how he does. Just because he's not verbal, that doesn't mean he's not communicating. There are other ways of communication. He or she may be using it. Understand that and respect that. Understand your child and then work accordingly.
Thank you. Respect your child's communication. That's the message. And thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend. Thank you for participation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye. Have a very good evening.
Bye.